Most of us live with a quiet, persistent anxiety that we are falling behind. No matter the paycheck or the age on our driver's license, the finish line for enough seems to move further away the faster we run. We've been conditioned to believe that building wealth is a prize reserved for those with high-level math skills, an elite MBA, or access to exclusive professional networks. But the data suggests otherwise. A janitor who lives simply and waits decades can retire with millions, while a high-earning doctor with no impulse control can end up in bankruptcy court. This happens because money is less about what you know and more about how you behave. We struggle because we naturally use money as a tool for social comparison. We don't look at our bank accounts to see if we're safe. We look at them to see how we rank against everyone else. In the 1950s, your lifestyle was measured against your actual neighbors. Most lived in houses like this, roughly 800 square feet and no air conditioning. Comparison was local, and the gaps between lifestyles were narrow. Today, your neighbor is a global algorithm. Every time you open your phone, you are comparing your behind-the-scenes life to a curated feed of influencers and billionaires, pushing your expectations into a territory that reality can't possibly match. When your expectations rise faster than your income, you feel broke even as you get richer. You are trapped by a moving goalpost, ensuring that your self-worth is always one purchase away from being satisfied. To reclaim control, view spending through two distinct lenses. Every dollar enters one of two buckets. First is utility, money spent to improve your life, like a reliable car or a safe home. The second is status, money spent to influence what strangers think of you. To see why the status bucket is a bad investment, consider this street in Beverly Hills. Before he was a writer, Morgan Housel worked here as a valet at a luxury hotel, parking some of the most expensive cars in the world. When someone pulled up in a Ferrari, Housel noticed something. He would stare at the car, imagining he owned it, but he never actually looked at the driver. This is the paradox. The driver bought the car to be admired, but the observers weren't admiring the driver, they were only picturing themselves in the seat. We spend money to signal success to people who are too busy worrying about their own image to even notice us. In the end, the status bucket buys a spotlight that no one is actually shining on you. This reveals the gap between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is current income. It is highly visible. It's the ability to make the monthly payments on things that signal I have arrived. Cornelius Vanderbilt was the definition of rich. He controlled a fortune worth roughly $500 billion in today's money. His heirs received massive trust funds, but were socially obligated to maintain a lifestyle of extreme, visible consumption. They built estates like this one, yet the family history is a catalog of misery. They had infinite money, but zero freedom to live outside of the expectations of their social circle. Generations later, Anderson Cooper became the first descendant to receive no inheritance. He had to build his own career from scratch, and in doing so, he gained something his ancestors never had, the independence to own his own path. That independence is what it means to be wealthy. Wealth is the money you don't spend. It's the car you didn't buy and the watch you left in the store. It is invisible, sitting in the bank as a dormant power. While being rich is about projecting an image to the world, being wealthy is about owning your time. It is the buffer that grants you immunity from the opinions of others. If we stop using money as a yardstick for status, its true value emerges. The ultimate luxury isn't a faster car. It's the ability to wake up and say, I can do whatever I want today. Building that life requires a simple shift in your psychological math. Happiness equals reality minus expectations. If you can keep your expectations from growing as fast as your income, you create a surplus of peace. Consider Stephen Hawking. After his ALS diagnosis at 21, his physical expectations for life were essentially reduced to zero. Because he expected nothing, he viewed every subsequent day as a gift, finding profound gratitude in the ability to continue his research. When you apply that perspective to your finances, your view of saving changes. If you aren't trying to fill a psychological hole with new stuff, a surplus begins to build. This surplus isn't a sacrifice or delayed fun. Every dollar you save is a direct purchase of your future autonomy. You aren't giving up a new sweater. You are buying a week of freedom 3 years from now. Once you have that autonomy, you can let time do the heavy lifting through compounding. Warren Buffett is a billionaire because he started as a child and never stopped. In fact, 99% of his wealth was accumulated after his 60th birthday. His greatest skill wasn't picking stocks, it was being patient. To reach that state, you have to remove your ego from the equation. Treat your savings like a mandatory monthly bill, an automated expense that you pay to your future self, just like rent or electricity. True wealth is the invisible armor that allows you to walk through the world on your own terms. It is the quiet confidence of knowing that while others are spending to look like they've made it, you have already bought the only thing that actually matters: your freedom.